Now it's time for Forum Daily's weekly energy update with Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy.
Well, thank you very much for that, Nima. And, again, another turbulent week, another odd and off week in energy markets. It looks like energy markets aren't really about oil, diesel, gasoline, propane, natural gas, and the like. Actually, they're really about worrying about interest rates and the US Fed and how good economic news, which is normally pretty strong sign and bullish for these commodities, can actually be translated into something negative. Well, that's what we've seen today and this week. Ever since Jerome Powell of the US Federal Reserve made comments that interest rates would have to rise, we've seen markets beat a significant retreat, moving from $80 a barrel for WTI all the way down to about $75 a barrel. And of course, that's good news for consumers in the short term because we saw, as expected, a pretty significant rise of about 4 or 5 cents a liter throughout much of the week, right up until about Tuesday, Wednesday, in which case markets started to reverse course. The news is welcome, obviously, from a consumer point of view, but disturbing from an overall economic view. And let me explain that, Nima. The Canadian dollar has taken an absolute beating. If we don't follow the US good economic news, which is being treated as bad news from an inflationary point, then of course the Canadian dollar suffers. And really that means that while energy prices may be dropping, they're not dropping as quickly as they are, say, for our friends in the United States because of the value of the loonie. The Canadian loonie started the week at about 134, 135 pennies to buy $1 US. It's now towards $138 to buy a US dollar. What that means is that we're seeing higher prices for fuel, relatively speaking, and we no longer have that shield of the petrodollar. You and I have talked about this in the past. Canadians have forsaken their energy sector, and by blocking pipelines and saddling our most profitable and lucrative generator of revenue in the country, that's the oil and gas sector, we're actually doing untold damage to ourselves, including inflation. So I see politicians talking about grocery inflation, fuel inflation, overall inflation. They simply cannot comprehend the significance of the damage that's being done to the economy and the raising of interest of inflation by diminishing our purchasing power for everything we take for granted. And so as a result, we're paying, I would say on average today in Canada, an additional 25 to 28 cents a liter, just because of that no longer having that petrodollar status. And if anyone thinks that that doesn't make its way into the food costs and throughout the entire spectrum of our economic chain, then they're fooling themselves. And it's one of the reasons that we're hearing that between 30 and 50% of Canadians can't make ends meet. Well, this week will likely be a little bit better for some, as I think we're going to see a bit of a drawback. We're already starting to see that of about 4 cents a liter, whether it's in Vancouver, which is now down towards $1.83, whether that happens to be Alberta, cheapest in the country, of course, with less tax, at about $1.20. Saskatchewan, which saw a pretty big increase to 156, could see those prices moving back down to about $1.54, $1.53 by middle part next week. Manitoba, which of course never moves. Retailers simply hang on to whatever they can. Right now, they're doing quite well at $1.52. They're not losing any money, they're not making money, but it's been the past couple of weeks been pretty good for them. Ontario, look for the $1.49.9 down to $1.45.9. So that could mean down to $1.43.9 before things start to improve. And of course, Quebec will follow it at $1.60, with the Maritimes having to wait. They got a big increase because they have this 7-day system. They find the average. They got a big increase of 5, 6, 7 cents a liter. In order to get the savings the rest of the country got, they're going to have to wait until Thursday and Friday. But that's the cost in the Maritimes, Atlantic Canada, of using the security rug of a regulated system that does not serve the interest of consumers. Does make a lot of bureaucrats rather prosperous. They keep their jobs. Now, of course, let's look at what's going to happen in the next week. We're now heading a lot closer to the carbon tax on April the 1st. I know many people think it's a great thing. Good, because you're going to be paying an extra 4 to 5 cents a liter. And then we have the clean fuel standard, the second carbon tax, coming in on July the 1st. Anybody who thinks that isn't an issue only has to look at efficiency and mileage you're going to get more More ethanol in your gasoline means less mileage, so you're going to pay for it one way or another. And don't forget, April 15th, Nima, we're going to be looking at the switchover from winter to summer gasoline at about 4 or 5 cents a liter. That's it for this week. We'll talk next week.
And that was Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. All right, stay tuned. Forum Daily's crypto and digital asset update is coming up next, so stay with us.